You look healthy, you feel fine, and yet, one morning the pain strikes without warning. It's not just a story you've heard. It's what happened to Daniel, a father of 3. He walked out for his morning jog and never made it back. No prior symptoms, no obvious signs, just silence, followed by sirens. Have you ever felt that quiet fear? That you're doing your best, eating okay, staying active, but something might still be ticking beneath the surface. If you've ever watched a loved one collapse, if you've ever wondered, will I be next? Then stay with me. There's something we've all missed, a silent war happening on our plates. And nature, quietly, has been offering protection all along, not with pills, but with color, with flavor, with the simplest choices we overlook every day. There's one story in particular that changed how I see breakfast forever. But first, let's talk about the fruit that changed Daniel's life. After it almost ended, Daniel never skipped a day. Rain or shine, he ran his usual 5K loop around the park in Dallas. 58, still lean from his days in the Marines, he was what people called fit for his age. That morning started like any other: stretch, lace up, coffee. By 7:10 a.m., he was halfway down Maple Drive. Then it happened: a sharp pull in his chest, a stumble, a blackout. When he opened his eyes, he was in a hospital bed. His wife, pale with fear, whispered, "They said it was your heart." He blinked, confused. His cholesterol had never been tested. He didn't think he needed to. "I felt fine," he kept repeating. "I felt fine." But the numbers told a different story. LDL through the roof, plaque buildup he never suspected. The doctor called it a classic silent threat. Here's the truth most people don't hear: heart disease doesn't scream, it whispers. In quiet lifestyle choices, the things you put on your plate each day, the habits you dismiss as normal, they either build your heart's armor or slowly chip it away. Daniel wasn't reckless, he just didn't know. And that's why we're here, because chances are, you're doing the best you can with what you know. But knowledge? That's the missing piece. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. And awareness is power. Imagine if the food you eat each morning could become the reason you never land in a hospital bed. Imagine if something as simple as breakfast could shift your heart's entire story. Daniel made a change. And the first thing he added? A creamy, green fruit you probably already know, but never realized could be your heart's quiet protector. Its story is more powerful than you think. The first time Lena tried avocado, it was on accident. A friend had mashed it onto toast, sprinkled sea salt, and handed it over during brunch. She took one bite and something clicked. It wasn't just the flavor, though it was rich, creamy, quietly satisfying. It was a softness her body hadn't felt in months. At 43, Lena was the definition of go, go, go. 2 kids, a full-time job in downtown LA, and 0 time for herself. Her comfort? Fried food, quick bites, creamy lattes. I didn't have time to think about food, I just needed fuel. But her numbers were climbing: cholesterol, blood pressure. Her doctor looked concerned. "Lena, we need to make some changes, soon." That's when she remembered the toast. She swapped her morning butter for avocado, traded her chips for fresh slices with lemon. Then, slowly, the results came in. LDL started dropping, HDL crept higher. Her energy felt less like a roller coaster, more like a calm ride. Avocados are more than a trend. They're packed with monounsaturated fats, especially oleic acid. The kind that lowers bad cholesterol and boosts the good. Think of it this way: every time you spread avocado on toast, you're spreading a shield over your arteries. They're also bursting with potassium, helping balance out the salt that hides in processed meals. That balance matters. Because sodium raises the pressure, potassium calms the storm. And then there's fiber. Just half an avocado gives you 6 to 7 grams. That's not just good for digestion. It's key to heart health, keeping cholesterol in check and making you feel fuller longer. Avocados don't shout. They don't promise overnight miracles. But they show up every day in small, steady ways, just like Lena's change. One toast, one lunch, one better choice at a time. Maybe you've tried them. Maybe you thought, it's just a fruit. But maybe that fruit is waiting to change your next lab result, or your next birthday, the one where you feel better, lighter, more alive. And if you've ever stood in a grocery aisle, wondering where to start, maybe start here. Because Lena did, and she never looked back. Have you ever made a small change that ended up meaning everything? If you have, I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments. Your story might just be the one someone else needs today. Let's meet someone else. He never liked fruit until one almost saved his life. Tom didn't eat fruit, not because he hated it, but because it never felt necessary. At 62, he had a routine: eggs and toast for breakfast, meat and potatoes for dinner. That's how his father ate. That's how he ate until the heart scan. The technician paused longer than usual. His doctor leaned forward and said the words slowly. "Your arteries are stiff. There's plaque. We need to act now." Tom nodded, but inside he was stunned. He didn't smoke. He walked his dog every day. He thought he was doing fine. Then his daughter said, "Dad, just try an apple." He rolled his eyes, but she left 3 on the counter, red, shiny, ordinary. He picked one up the next morning and bit in, crisp, sweet. Clean, it became a habit. 1 apple every afternoon. 3 months later, the changes began: lower LDL, steadier blood pressure, better sleep, less heaviness in his chest when climbing stairs. How? Because apples aren't just snacks, they're heart guardians in disguise, packed with soluble fiber, especially pectin. They bind to bad cholesterol in your gut and carry it out. No drama, no medication. Just a natural sweep. Apples also contain polyphenols, plant compounds that reduce inflammation, block cholesterol oxidation, and relax blood vessels. Every crunch was doing something, even if Tom didn't feel it right away. His arteries did, his heart did. He didn't count calories, he didn't go vegan, he just added 1 fruit. And everything else began to shift. There's a reason for the saying, an apple a day, but what it really means is this: sometimes the smallest act is the first step out of danger. Tom still eats meat, still walks his dog, but now he also carries an apple in his pocket, like a quiet promise to himself. Maybe you've overlooked them too. Passed by the produce section, reaching for something more exciting. But maybe your heart is waiting for the sound of that first crunch, the sound of change. And while Tom found his shift in a red fruit, Nancy's path was far more colorful, and it began in the frozen aisle. Nancy never liked hospitals, the smell, the waiting, the silence. But after her sister's heart attack at 49, she found herself walking through ER doors more than she wanted to. Genetics, the doctor said, history of hypertension, elevated cholesterol. She wasn't sick yet, but the risk was there. So Nancy, 55 and fiercely independent, made a quiet vow: I will not be next. She started reading, not blogs, not trends, real studies, real science. And one name kept popping up: berries. Not just strawberries in desserts, but blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Little bursts of color carrying something more powerful than sugar: anthocyanins, antioxidants, nature's inflammation fighters. So she bought a frozen mix, tossed it into her oatmeal, then added them to her smoothies, then just snacked on them by the handful. Within 6 weeks, her blood pressure dipped. She felt lighter, clearer. Like someone had turned down the background noise in her body. Berries don't shout, but they work in silence. They strengthen the lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium. That thin, invisible shield that protects your arteries. They help your body produce nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes your vessels and keeps blood flowing smoothly. And the fiber, it binds to cholesterol like a magnet, pulling the bad out before it settles in. Nancy didn't go on a strict diet. She didn't count macros. She didn't cut joy out of her meals. She just added color, vibrancy. A handful of berries each day became her quiet act of rebellion against family history. Because when you carry the weight of someone else's fate, you want to know you've done everything you could. She says the routine feels sacred now. Like prayer with a spoon. Maybe you've lost someone. Or maybe you live with that ticking clock, that question mark hanging over your chest. Let this be your answer. You are not helpless. You are never too late to begin. If Nancy's story speaks to you, tell me in the comments. Your voice might be the sign someone else is waiting for. Some fruits soothe the heart with sweetness, others with brightness. But the next one, it fights for you with a quiet boldness, one tangy bite at a time. Mike didn't know he had high blood pressure, not until he fainted on the subway. New York City doesn't pause for much. But that day, the world around him stopped. Paramedics. Lights. A blood pressure reading that made the EMT raise his eyebrows. At 47, Mike thought stress was just part of the job, deadlines, late nights, takeout meals eaten at a desk. He called it normal. His body disagreed. The doctor gave him two options: start medication immediately or change everything. Mike chose something in between. He said, "Give me 3 months," and started with breakfast. That's when he discovered kiwis, bright green, tangy, odd little fruits he used to ignore. But each one was loaded with vitamin C, E, potassium, and fiber, and more importantly, lutein, a compound that calms inflammation and quietly lowers pressure. He made it a rule: 3 kiwis a day, 1 in the morning, 1 mid-afternoon, 1 after dinner. At first, nothing changed. Then, by week 5, he stopped waking up with tension in his temples. His hands felt warmer, his heartbeat steadier. He went back for a checkup. The nurse double-checked the machine, then smiled. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Kiwis help the blood flow better by reducing platelet stickiness and keeping vessels elastic and open. They're small, yes, but they hold power, not the kind that shouts, the kind that works in silence with precision. Mike still keeps a small knife in his desk drawer, peels his kiwi slowly. It's a ritual now, not because he's afraid, but because it reminds him every day is a chance to steer your health back. Maybe you're like Mike, drowning in work, thinking stress is just how it is, but your heart deserves a break. And sometimes, the way back starts with something as humble as fruit. As Mike says, "If it grows from the ground and fits in my palm, I trust it." He didn't need to become a different person, he just needed to listen. And the next fruit. It speaks softly, too, but with a sweetness that holds more than flavor. It holds forgiveness. Angela used to crave cookies, not just once in a while, but every night like clockwork. The sugar called to her in whispers she couldn't resist. At 50, her doctor called it prediabetes. Angela called it terrifying. Her father lost a leg. Her mother battled strokes, and her blood tests were now walking the same path. She needed to stop. But how do you give up the very thing that soothes you? She tried willpower, failed, tried again, failed. Then, one afternoon at a farmer's market, she picked up a pear, firm, golden, speckled. No plan, just a moment of curiosity. She bit into it while sitting in her car, and something softened. The sweetness was real, but it didn't spike, it didn't crash, it lingered. Gently. That night, when the cookie craving hit, she had a pear instead, and the next night, and the one after that, it became a new rhythm, not denial, not discipline, just redirection. Pears are rich in soluble fiber, the kind that slows down sugar absorption and helps regulate insulin levels. They also contain flavonoids, natural compounds that reduce inflammation, ease blood pressure, and support vascular health. But more than that, pears are forgiving. They let you enjoy sweetness without punishment, without fear, without guilt. Angela started sleeping better. Her energy evened out, her morning glucose readings lower, steadier, hopeful. It wasn't a diet, it was a decision to stop punishing herself and start feeding her body what it actually needed. Now, she packs a pear in her purse every morning, like a quiet promise to her past self. "I've got you now." If you've ever battled sugar like a ghost that won't let go, you are not weak. You're just human. And humans heal in small, tender steps. Maybe tonight, instead of fighting the craving, you could meet it halfway. You could offer it a pear. And in that simple act, you might just rewrite your story. Angela did, and the next fruit on her journey. It didn't just heal from the inside, it brought sunshine to every bite. Carlos loved coffee, strong, black, Cuban style. He sipped it slowly each morning as the sun climbed over his Florida porch. 60 years old, retired, proud grandfather. His life was quiet now, fishing, gardening, salsa on weekends. But one doctor's visit cracked that peace. "You've got arterial plaque," the cardiologist said. "Early signs of atherosclerosis." Carlos froze. He didn't feel sick, didn't look sick, but inside, his arteries were stiffening. Medication was offered. He accepted it, but he also asked, "What else can I do?" The answer surprised him. Papaya, a fruit from his childhood. He remembered his grandmother slicing it open, sprinkling lime and sea salt, saying, "This keeps the fire away." Carlos started buying one papaya each week, cutting it into cubes, chilling it in the fridge. It became his mid-morning ritual. Then came the shifts: less bloating, more regular digestion, blood pressure gently easing. The science backed it up. Papaya is packed with vitamin C, beta-carotene, and lycopene, all powerful antioxidants. These fight oxidative stress, that silent internal rust that corrodes the heart over time. Fermented papaya, in particular, has shown impressive results in reducing LDL cholesterol and boosting HDL, the good kind. But beyond the data, Carlos felt something simpler: peace. Like he was doing something kind for his body every single day. He didn't cut everything out. He still had coffee, still danced, still laughed. But papaya became his signal that this moment, this bite, was his way of choosing life. Now he grows his own. The trees stand proud in his backyard, golden orange treasures swaying in the breeze. He says they remind him that healing doesn't always come in a bottle. Sometimes, it grows from the earth and tastes like sunlight. If you've ever felt betrayed by your body or overwhelmed by medical words, let this fruit be a gentle rebellion. Carlos didn't wait for things to get worse. He just started with sweetness. And the next fruit, it's humble. Often overlooked, but in many ways it's the most powerful of them all. Emily had always been curious. She grew her own herbs, shopped local, read ingredient lists like they were novels. At 39, living in a quiet Ohio suburb, she considered herself healthy: green smoothies, yoga, kombucha in the fridge. But her recent blood test surprised her. Cholesterol elevated, blood pressure on the edge. It didn't make sense. She was doing everything right. Still, her doctor gently warned, wellness isn't always protection. Sometimes, even good routines miss something crucial. Emily dove deeper, past the kale blogs and chia seed guides, into clinical studies, and one fruit kept appearing unexpectedly. Guava, not trendy, not front and center in wellness stores, but packed, absolutely packed with soluble fiber, vitamin C, potassium, and antioxidants, more than oranges, more than apples, quietly the real superfruit. She found some at a Latin market. Bright green skin, pink inside, fragrant, complex. She sliced it, tasted and paused, tangy, tropical. Familiar yet new, she started eating one every afternoon and felt something shift: energy, smoother. Bloating, gone, heart rate, calmer. Guava works from every angle. It lowers blood pressure, reduces LDL, raises HDL, eases inflammation. And it doesn't need fancy preparation. Just slice and trust. Emily added it to smoothies, tossed it into salads. Sometimes just ate it raw on the porch, watching her garden grow. It wasn't about trends anymore. It was about truth. What works? What heals? She says guava made her feel like her body was listening, like it finally had what it needed. We often chase complexity, thinking the answer has to be exotic, expensive, elite. But maybe the most potent things are the ones we overlook, sitting quietly on a shelf waiting to be seen. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything and still not feeling your best, let guava be your quiet ally, the missing link between knowledge and nourishment. Emily still experiments, still questions, but now she trusts her fruit. And soon she'd learn. It's not about one perfect food. It's about the chorus they create when they work together. No single fruit saved them. Not avocado alone, not the apple, not even the vibrant berries or the bold guava. It was all of them. A symphony of nature, working in harmony, each with its own note, its own gift, its own whisper to the heart. Daniel started with avocado, but soon he was slicing papaya, too. Lena loved her toast, but she added kiwi to her morning plate. Tom crunched into apples, then folded berries into his cereal. It wasn't about becoming a health guru overnight. It was about building something simple, a plate filled with color, with intention, with care. You don't need to change your life in one day. You only need to start building the choir, Each fruit reduces pressure, fights inflammation, regulates cholesterol, supports vessels. But when they come together, they become something bigger than nutrition. They become rhythm, balance, a daily promise. The way a mother blends guava into her child's smoothie. The way a grandfather peels a kiwi at dusk. The way you pause just for a moment to eat something real. There's no magic pill. But there is a daily magic when you let food become your ally, not your enemy. It's not about restriction. It's about inclusion, not about fear. But quiet strength. Imagine your plate as a palette. What colors do you want to paint with today? Because your heart isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for consistency, for gentleness, for love in edible form. So don't worry about getting it all right. Just start with one fruit, then add another. Then let them sing together. You've heard the stories, felt the shifts, seen what's possible. Now the question is, what song will you compose for your heart? And as you begin to answer that, there's one last thing I'd love to leave with you, a truth that ties all of this together. Not about food, but about you.